Honourable Parliament Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to speak to Bill C-50, an act to amend the Canada Elections Act around political financing. This bill proposes to amend the Canada Elections Act to bring unprecedented openness and transparency to federal political fundraising. The legislation is the latest step the Government of Canada is taking to improve upon transparency, accountability and integrity in our public institutions and towards strengthening the democratic process, and I would like to thank the Minister and her Parliamentary Secretary for their work. In 2017, Canadians celebrated the 35th anniversary of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Charter is a model for democracies around the world. Section 3 of the Charter guarantees every citizen the right to vote and to run in an election. This fundamental democratic right, guaranteed to all Canadians, is central, obviously, to our democracy. It's critical to ensure that when candidates for federal elected office engage in raising funds to run a campaign, and when donors contribute, that the processes are open, transparent, and accountable. The integrity of our political system depends on being vigilant and on continuous improvement in recognition of the fact that the public trust is earned and re-earned every day. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms also enshrines the freedoms of association and expression. Section 2 of the Charter has been interpreted to include the right of Canadian citizens and permanent residents to make a donation to a political party and to participate in fundraising activities subject to reasonable limits. Political parties are a vital part of our democratic system. They unite and mobilize people from different regions and with a variety of different perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences to volunteer, to champion policies, to have new ideas, and to foster and engage in public debate. Voting in an election for a candidate is one of the ways we play an active role in our society. Volunteering for a political party or a campaign is another way. And certainly, making a financial contribution to a political campaign is a way to play a direct role in the democratic process. Upholding and protecting the integrity of the political campaign contribution process is our collective responsibility as members of Parliament. We must continue to ensure that Canadians are free to contribute to political parties and candidates. Canada is known around the world for the rigor of its political financing regime, and this comes from our constant attention. Donations from corporations and unions are prohibited under existing legislation, and there are strict limits on the contributions an individual can make. Canadian citizens and permanent residents can contribute a maximum of $1,575 annually to each registered party. They can donate $1,575 in total to all leadership contestants in a particular contest. And they can donate a total of $1,575 to contestants for nomination candidates and or riding associations of each registered party. Contributions are reported to Elections Canada, and the name, municipality, province, and postal code of those who contribute more than $200 is published. Bill C-50 builds on the existing rules. When a fundraising event requires someone to contribute or pay a ticket price totaling more than $200, the name and partial address of each attendee, with certain exceptions, will be published. The exceptions are young people under 18, volunteers, event staff, media, someone assisting a person with a disability, and support staff for a minister or party leader in attendance. Canadians take political fundraising seriously. There are significant consequences for disobeying the law, and that's why currently the Canada Elections Act provides tough sanctions for those who break the rules. Though Canadians can be proud of our already strict regulations for political financing, we recognize that they have the right to know even more when it comes to political fundraising events. Bill C-50 will provide Canadians with more information about political fundraising events in order to continue to enhance trust and confidence in our democratic institutions. If passed, Bill C-50 will allow Canadians to learn when a political fundraiser that has a ticket price or requires a contribution of $200 or more is happening and who attended. This legislation would apply to all fundraising activities attended by cabinet ministers, including the Prime Minister, party leaders, and leadership contestants that meet the criteria. It also applies to appreciation events for donors to a political party or contestant. This legislation would only apply to parties with a seat in the House of Commons. It would require parties to advertise fundraising events at least 5 days in advance. Canadians would know about a political fundraiser before the event takes place, giving them an opportunity to participate and even to observe. Bill C-50 gives journalists the ability to determine and when and where fundraisers are happening. And at the same time, political parties would retain the flexibility to set their own rules for providing media access and accreditation. Parties would be required to report the names and partial addresses of attendees to Elections Canada within 30 days of the event. That information would then become public. The bill would also introduce new offences in the Canada Elections Act for those who don't respect the rules and require the return of any money collected at the event. These sanctions would apply to political parties and event organizers rather than the senior political leaders invited to the events. We propose a maximum $1,000 fine on summary conviction for offences introduced under Bill C-50. This new level of transparency requires that the public trust always be built and delivers on the government's promise to bring greater transparency to Canada's political financing system and strengthen our democratic institutions. And we are taking action to increase voter participation and enhance the integrity of elections through Bill C-33. The government has partnered with the Communications Security Establishment to protect Canada's democracy from cyber threats. While we know that Canadians have every reason to be proud of our democracy, which together we build every day, we recognize there's always room for improvement. Shining a light on political fundraising activities builds upon our already strong and robust system for political financing in Canada. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.